All right, so this lesson is on how to solve equations that involve absolute value. So just a quick review of absolute value. So this is how you write absolute value. It's with these lines here. And so let's look at the absolute value of 2 and the absolute value of -2. So the definition of absolute value is a number's distance from 0 on a number line. So if you think about a number line, and we've got 0 here in the middle, say 2 is here, and -2 is here. The distance that 2 is from the number line, I mean from 0, and -2 is from 0 is the same. So they're both the same distance away from 0. So they both have the same absolute value, which is 2. So again, the technical definition is a number's distance from 0 in a number line. The way that I think of it is whatever you put inside the absolute value bars, you always get a positive value out. Okay, so you will never get a negative value out of this. So you plug in a negative number, you get a positive number out. Plug in a positive number, you get a positive number out. So this is the basis of what we're going to do right here in red. It says if the absolute value of A equals B, then that means that A could be equal to B, or A could be equal to -B. Because the absolute value of B is B, the absolute value of -B is also B. And so this is going to be the basis of solving equations involving absolute value. All right, so let's look at an example. So it says the absolute value of x plus 2 equals 9. So what's inside of here is equal to 9. Now, the absolute value of 9 is 9, but the absolute value of -9 is also 9. So that means what's inside of here could be equal to 9, or it could be equal to -9. So we're going to have to write two equations. So the first equation we're going to write is x plus 2 equals 9, and the second one is x plus 2 equals -9. Because whether this is 9 or -9, you're going to get positive 9 out. So you can see we're going to have two answers when we have an absolute value equation. So then we're just going to solve these the way we've always solved equations, using opposite operations. So subtract 2 from both sides, I get x equals 7, or subtract 2 over here, and x equals -11. And so that's our answers, x equals 7 or x equals -11. And you could check that, right? So 7 plus 2 is 9, and the absolute value of 9 is 9. Plug in -11. -11 plus 2 is -9, and the absolute value of -9 is positive 9. All right, so let's look at another one. All right, so in this one, we've got some other stuff over here besides the absolute value. So what you want to do is get the absolute value piece by itself. Then we're going to break it apart into the two pieces. All right, so we need to get rid of this plus 12, and we need to get rid of this 3. So in essence, you could just think of this as a variable. So for instance, you can think of this as 3y plus 12 equals 10. And so if I was solving this equation, I would subtract 12 from both sides and then divide by 3 to get the y by itself. So that's what we're going to do to get this absolute value of 2x plus 9 by itself. So I'm not saying it's equivalent to y. I'm just saying you can think of this as a variable so that you picture this. So it makes it easier for you to understand how to get it by itself. We're going to subtract 12 from both sides. Minus 12. And so now I have 3 times the absolute value of 2x plus 9 equals 10 minus 12 is -2. And now to get rid of this 3, I'm going to divide both sides by 3. So I have, so these will cancel out. So I have the absolute value of 2x plus 9 equals negative 2/3. And so let's stop here for a second. Remember, back on the first slide, I said whatever's inside the absolute value, you will always get a positive value out. So if I put 7 in here, the absolute value of 7 is 7. The absolute value of negative 7 is 7. So when I get an absolute value is equal to a negative number, that's impossible. So when I get this, the answer to this equation is no solution, because you can never have the absolute value of something be equal to a negative value. And remember, this is an alternate way of showing no solution. This means undefined. So this is undefined. You can't have this. All right, so when you get the absolute value part by itself, if it's equal to a negative value, no matter what that negative value is, then it's no solution. All right, so let's look at another one. All right, so again, you can think of this as 4 times some variable, I'll call it p minus 1 equals 11. So you're trying to get this piece by itself. So you're going to add 1 and then divide by 4. So let's add 1 to both sides. So 4 times the absolute value of 2y minus 3 equals 12. Now I want to get rid of the 4, so I divide by 4. Those cancel out. I have the absolute value of 2y minus 3 equals 3. One thing I'll just point out, these absolute value bars, make sure you make them tall, because if you don't make them tall, then they look like a 1. So they should be taller than the other things around it, the other values. All right, so this says the absolute value of 2y minus 3 equals 3. So what's inside of here could be equal to 3 or negative 3, because the absolute value of 3 is 3, and the absolute value of negative 3 is 3. So now I'm going to break apart into 2y minus 3 equals 3, or 2y minus 3 equals negative 3. And now I'm going to solve these. So plus 3 plus 3, 2y equals 6, divide by 2. So my first solution is y equals 3. So same steps over here, add 3, 2y equals 0, negative 3 plus 3 is 0, divide by 2, and y equals 0. So y is equal to 3 or y is equal to 0. All right, so that's all there is to it. So hopefully that was helpful and useful, and if so, give it a like and a subscribe, and feel free to leave me a comment. Until next time.